Okay, this is the third part of exponential curve. Now we're going to go through some examples here. Now there's four graphs that we need to sketch, and that each one of them are very similar. Okay, so let's have a look at the first one. It's a 2 to the power of x plus 3. Now all of them is actually exponential but pushed up by 3. So we need to think about this. Now this part, the constant part of that, is actually indicating its graph is going up or down. Okay, so in this case, all of them is going pushed up by 3. Now let's have a look at, let's test our memory here. So 1 and 2, what's the difference between two of them? It's the power, isn't it? One is a positive power, one is a negative power. That means it's reflected about the x-axis or y-axis. When power is a different, it's reflected about the y-axis. So that it'll be, the first one goes from the first quadrant, and the second one goes to from the second to 1. So it meet at 1, but it's not going to be 1 because it's pushed up by 3. So it'll be about 4. Yes, you from 1 to pushed up by 3, so it'll be 4. Now, these two will be the one on the third and fourth quadrant. Okay, so it's going to go, and only difference here is the power sign's different. So it'll be, again, it's reflected about y-axis. So it's go like this. Okay, and the mid on there. Now, let's have a look at 1 and 3. 1 and 3, what's the difference, 1 and 3? It's all the same, but the constant is different, isn't it? One is a positive constant, one is negative. When the constants are different, it's reflected about x-axis. Okay, so it's going to be something like this and something like that. Okay, so let's have a look at the actual thing. Before we start sketching, it's really good idea to find the y-intercept. Okay, and the asymptote. So first graph is y equals 2 to the power of x plus 3. Now when x equals 0, because I want to find the y-intercept, so that will give you y equals 4. So it was 1, and I pushed up to 3 units up, so it'll be 4 now. Okay, and then what happens with my asymptote? Asymptote is the one also pushed up. So asymptote before, if I didn't have plus 3, I will have asymptote as y equals 0. But y equals 0 been pushed up. So now my new asymptote is y equals 3. Okay, so asymptote is something that it's like forbidden. You can't get through, you can't be touched. So that's your asymptote. But when you write your asymptote equation, make sure you write it y equals 3, not y cannot be 3. That's just condition. This is the asymptote equation, so make sure you do that. So if I actually sketch this, that'll be cutting through 4, but it's going to go closer to the y equals 3, not y equals 0, because the whole thing has been pushed up by 3. So next one, very similar, but it's got her negative power. Okay, so negative power, so it starts from, so it's going to be, all y value will be positive, so it's still, we're on the first or second, but because the negative power, we're starting from the left to the right. If it was a positive, we start from the right to left, and everything the same. So it cuts through the 4 because it pushed up by 3, and your asymptote still the same, getting closer to y equals 3. Okay, because asymptote was pushed up again from y equals 0 to 3. So that's what it is. And the third one, y equals minus. Now, we got the constant as a minus here. So that means it's going to be on the third or fourth quadrant. Okay, straight away. But it's got a power as a positive. Power as a positive. Okay, so if you're not sure where it's going to go this way or that way, it's always good to actually put some number in and see where actually it's starting. Okay, so put coordinates in there. Now, I need to know my y-intercept because it's been pushed up from the negative 1. I don't know whether you remember this. One of them was like this. It was something like we didn't have the, this was a 0. It's not going up or down. It was -1. Now, if -1 and it's pushed up by 3, 1, 2, 3, I will be at 2. So that's why it's a 2's here. So it was coming from -1, pushed up to by 3. Okay, so make sure you actually think about where it's going to cut through y-axis, and I've done it algebraically here, so y equals 2. So that's what y-intercept is, and because it's asymptotes now used to be y equals 0, but it pushed up by 3, so it's going to be y equals 3, and therefore it's going to cut through x-axis, so you will have x-intercept here. So I'm going to have to work it out what it's cutting through. So y equals 0, I'll put it in. Now this is going to be a little bit confusing for some year 10 students, but I will actually put these ones for another video, but for the time being, this is what how to actually calculate. So when you put the 0 there, I think up to here, I think we have all okay with that. And you have to have a take ln, which is a log. So if you haven't done log, this is going to be very hard. So for the time being, you just have to look at the shape of it, even we don't know about the x-intercept. Okay, so the last one, I'll push it down a bit. So this is the last graph. So this is going to be -2 and power of -x. So it'll starts from here to all the way up. Again, it's my asymptote will be y equals 3, and it cut through 2. And this time I calculated it again with using log, and it cut through -1.6 roughly. Just use a calculator for this. So I will explain this one when I do some log video. But for the time being, I think the main thing is you look at the shape of the exponential curve, what it looks like when it was a negative constant or negative power or positive constant or positive power with constant on the there, whether it's going up or down. So if this was a -3, it'll go down from -1 to down, so it'd be -4. Okay.